What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Parker Chronicles podcast. I am your host, Brett Parker, and today we are reviewing Resident Evil Afterlife. And joining me for the fourth week of the 6-week journey that is Resident Evil is my good friend, PiggyWhisperRiine. Welcome back for more fun. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, man. How are we doing today? And are you ready to talk about this movie?
I'm ready to talk about it because that means it's done. It means we're on to the next.
Just means we're that much closer.
To never having to watch this again. Like
Oh man.
Yeah, I have many things to say about that. I didn't even dip my toe into the things I've gotta say. It's gonna be I got a lot.
This is gonna be great. It's gonna be really great.
Like the rest of the movies.
Right. I just gotta do something real quick. Just making sure my chat works, because for some reason I usually get an alert that says I'm live, but I didn't get that. So if anybody's in the chat, I can't see it, so I apologize. I don't even think it's working. Good.
Love it. It's working for me. You probably not.
No. Gotta love it. All right. Oh, there it is. All right. I just had to pop up a different window. Oh man. I changed my name on everything, so now everything's just gonna be fun, you know?
That's how it works. It all gets rough.
Yep.
Changing anything just gets rough.
Yep. All right. Well, with all that fun, yes, let's talk about Resident Evil Afterlife. And before we go into all the nitty-gritty details of, how much money this movie, I don't understand how this movie made so much money. But let's talk about what we thought of Resident Evil Afterlife. And of course, Piggy is going to take off here.
What I thought about this movie, I felt like it was a fever dream. I still feel like it's a fever dream because it has so many things that reference back to like the third movie, and the third movie said that the entire world was just a wasteland,
right?
But like the opening of the movie is in like Tokyo, and Tokyo is just a thriving city of Tokyo. Like it's nothing special or even different. And it's been, how many months has it been since everything went to shit in Raccoon City now?
Yeah, I don't know. There's really no time frame of like the only time you ever get a time frame is between, well, not even in the movie. You have to like look it up. Like when you look at trivia, it's like, oh yeah, so RE2 and RE3, we're talking about the movies here, not the games. There's like a 5-year difference. It's but it's like, and then which still didn't make any sense because in Extinction everything is desert.
And then this one says that it's like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And
I'm like, the consistency is very off.
Alaska's a beautiful paradise filled with beautiful natural forests and stuff, which Alaska is, but like, wasn't it all desert? And why is Tokyo a functional city if the whole world was desert and everything went to ruin in Extinction?
Right.
And like, and then on top of it, the fact that they're on top of this prison building.
Yeah.
they're on top of this prison building, and why were there no zombies or prisoners in there? Why was there nothing? Why was it just empty?
Well, they talked about that, didn't they? When they were in the prison, they
They
said that they
got it.
had
They
let
said,
him go, right?
yeah, that everything had opened up and everybody had left. But
Yeah.
would that not mean that the fence was open and so were the doors? Which
Right.
means, like,
Yeah.
there would be people in and out, especially zombies who just mindlessly wander?
Uh,
No, instead
no.
we have a totally empty, barricaded prison,
Yep.
and they're trying to go to Arcadia. Which Arcadia? There's an Arcadia, California, which they're in California. There's an Arcadia in Alaska. There's there's so many different Arcadias along that coast that I was like, well, which one? Which one is the like
And it turns out to be a
good
damn ship.
Yeah. Turns
Yeah.
out to be the Arcadia ship. It's like
Okay. That's
sure.
cool. Fel,
Makes sense why there's nothing on there.
welcome in, buddy.
I just have so many questions and complaints. And I feel like the movie could have been probably about 20 minutes long if we got rid of all the slow motion shots.
Yeah, well, we also have to remember this was a 3D movie when it was released. So what's the best way to show you really cool 3D by making everything slow motion? Oh my lord. I mean, it's either you get slow motion or you get the ridiculous cuts where you don't know what's happening because it's just cutting from Alice to the creature to Alice to a zombie to Alice to freaking Claire to like what? Can we either just focus on one person or we just zoom out and just get a room shot of them fighting? They're all within close proximity. It's not like one's on one side of the room, one's on the other, which would have been cooler. Like if you had that shot, but you had it's been like this for every movie in this franchise. It's just so much. Either you get so much going on that you don't know what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Or it's in slow motion, which is just it's crazy.
I just it was
Yeah.
so much like when Axeman, we're gonna call you the Axeman. When he gets into prison,
Yeah.
there's a fighting scene where Alice like runs up on him, and there was a solid 15-minute not 15-second slow motion capture of her just like running at him from like 4 different angles, and then she just like slid under him. I was like,
what is oh Lord.
So
yeah. I called him Pyramid Head's like brother. He was like his sack head brother. I like literally when you first see him, you're like, did they literally just rip off Pyramid Head? Just didn't put the Pyramid Head on him? Like, is this a creature in the games?
Yes.
This guy? He is?
Mhm. Yeah, but he doesn't have an axe. He has a chainsaw, and he's from 4.
Okay.
And he yells at you in Spanish and comes after you with a chainsaw, and he's like running after you.
Yeah.
But he does have the sack head. He does have like the nails in his face and stuff, and he is very large compared to a normal human being, but he's not this large.
Yeah.
So they just kind of took him and were like, what if him and Pyramid Head had a baby?
Yeah, that's literally what it was. That's why I kept like in my notes, I think I just had him as like Pyramid Head's brother or his like sack-headed cousin or something. Because I'm like, what the hell? I'm guessing this is just in the movie. He's just another tyrant, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Other than that, it was like, okay.
I'm real confused where the line is going to be drawn, because I still don't know where it is. Is this actually just another tyrant, or was this guy, was he tested on, like, spoiler alert, on the Arcadia?
Yeah.
Like, because they said that they were testing stuff.
Yeah.
But there's no information on that. Like, they don't actually tell you anything about it. They're just like, we need people.
Yeah.
And that's it. But So where did he come from? Is he just a really big dude who had zombie goop in him, or is he tested on?
I feel
And
like
we're
he,
never
yeah.
gonna know.
I mean, I feel like he was probably part of the Nemesis program or something, and it went wrong, or it was something that they were attempting to experiment on, and then everything went to shit, and he escaped. But they don't tell you shit. They're just like, oh shit, look at this big dude walking down the street. Where'd he come
Yeah.
from? I don't know. He just probably been wandering around for a while. But there's no, like, at least with Nemesis, you figure, it's Matt. They experimented on him. He was a freaking, he was a tool for Umbrella to eradicate the city or make sure there was, try to clear out the zombies or whatever the heck he was meant to be in Apocalypse. And then you had the doctor from the last one turned into the tyrant, and you know who he was. You had the backstory of why he became the tyrant. But then you get this guy, and you're like, who is he? I don't know. He's big and scary. He's gonna probably fight people, in a cool way. And yeah, the fight scene between this guy and Alice and Claire, I liked it. I liked the fact, like, you got the water everywhere and they got the cool effects, but this is one of those many scenes of this movie where you had to have everything happening in slow motion. Stop it. I think the only shot that I liked that was, in slow motion, and it was, of course, it was a 3D effect, because of, like we said before, this movie was a 3D movie when it was released, was when he throws his axe. And it comes towards the screen and then it hits the wall. I thought that was cool, but I'm glad we don't get this anymore. 3D movies are just not, like, I don't even know if they still do they still make 3D movies?
If they do, it's like for kids movies and stuff like that.
Which, to be honest, animated movies are the best way of doing 3D, in my opinion.
You can get proper shading and stuff like that, whereas if you're doing live action, it's a lot harder to mimic the proper shading of them, like, coming out of the screen and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have to CGI the shading, which usually your brain can tell just enough that it's like, that's not normal.
No.
But this whole movie really could have been like a whole hour shorter.
Yeah. There was so much exposition and just, like, characters talking about shit that doesn't matter, that you're never going to have, like, any resolution to, or it's never going to go anywhere. It's just kind of, hey, we just have these two people talking about just random stuff, and it lasts for 5 minutes, and you're like, listen, 5 minutes might not sound long, but in a movie that was only an hour and a half, it's a long time of just, like, it was like Alice and oh God, what the heck is his name? What the heck? I gotta look at my notes now. I can't remember these characters' names.
It's a fever dream.
Exactly.
Whole thing's just a fever dream.
This movie didn't happen. Luther. They're just, like, walking through the prison, just talking about whatever. It had nothing to do with anything. But
so I do have a question that I do need explained, which happened in the prison.
Oh boy.
Why was Chris in jail?
I don't know.
They killed a bunch of people, and it's like, it's the zombie apocalypse. Like, you kill people. And they're like, no, he killed people, and it was mean. And he's like, can I just get out, please? Like, if y'all don't know why he's locked up, why is he locked up? And I know that was Alice's whole point and whatever, but that is the weirdest segue into having Chris in this situation.
Right? And the other thing was, he tried, like, when Luther brings Alice down to his cell, or to that, like, box or that cage he was in, and they're talking about him, and then Alice goes up and starts talking to him, and he's like super intimidating, like he's supposed to be scary.
It's sweaty.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, you need me, and like acting all intimidating and all that. And it's like, bro, I'm not intimidated by you. The actor who played Chris Redfield, Wentworth Miller, not a super intimidating dude. No. Just not. Probably, yeah. I mean, I don't remember if Chris. I mean, was Chris like a intimidating guy in the games?
No. Chris is very much so like the expert. He's the one that has been through it, done it, been trained by more than one company to do it, and like whoever he's working for is going to get what they need done. That's Chris. He's not a scary guy. He's not mean. He's not some big burly guy who's gonna kill you.
Whoa.
Like,
he punched a damn boulder, okay?
Yeah, I was going to say, that being said, he punched a boulder. So, he could kill you, but he was never a character.
No.
He was always trying to help and trying to just do his job and very, like, cut to the point and get right down to it kind of character.
Yeah. So. And then you had, like, there was some characters in this movie, like Bennett. I called him the evil mustache guy. He was looked like a generic, like just a generic bad guy. And he was so useless. He was such a useless character. Even after he escapes and he goes to the Arcadia and then meets up with Wesker, and you're like, why? Why are you even here? Wesker doesn't need you. This dude is like superhuman. Like, he doesn't need your ass. Oh my God.
Wesker needs help. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then of course, with movies like this, with horror movies, and I mean, do we even classify this as a horror? I guess you would put it in a horror movie category, especially when I don't think it is, and you don't think it is, but like when you look at, like, when they classify this movie, because it's Resident Evil, they're going to classify it as a horror action movie.
Yep. It was all horror, and I'm just like, you did such a dirty deed.
Yeah. And it's just not a horror movie. This is just a crazy, over-the-top action movie with zombies in it, because it's getting to the point where what's the point of the zombies anymore? Even though I think the zombies in this movie were much more intimidating, and they did a lot more than they have in pretty much all the other ones, except for maybe one, because they were in such an enclosed environment. In one, it just seemed like there were more.
Yeah.
Whereas they started going outside, there was a lot, but it didn't seem like a lot, and they didn't do shit.
They're spread out, and they can get away from them outside. Yeah. It's like you said, it's strictly being in an enclosed area with them that is the problem. They're not particularly fast, but they're not particularly slow. So you can always outrun them. The problem is their numbers. That's where zombies get scary, is their numbers. And they got rid of the numbers when the movies went outside.
Yeah.
As soon as you walk out those doors, like, nope. Now it's just an awe factor of like, look at all these zombies.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, amazing. Okay. Where's the mean guy? Where's the bad guy?
I have to say, though, the thing that I did like is that when, they're like, yeah, we're outside, and we're not, but we're still in an enclosed environment, especially when they're in the prison, because like everywhere they encounter the zombies, it's not like in a wide open space. It's like on the rooftop. For one, I have a lot of questions. How the hell those zombies get all the way up to that rooftop so fast? Yeah, so fast. And and like they were like the vents or the tunnel. It was all in enclosed environments, even though they had access to bigger areas. So I liked that they did that to make it kind of, I'm not going to say scary, because it wasn't scary, but like it's to make it creepier. If they're crawling through a tight area, and then a zombie comes through and starts to chase them or attacks somebody or whatever. And then the fight with the big brute. I'll call him a brute. That's a freaking, it wasn't like they had a huge space. It was in this like small area of the prison. So I liked the decisions they made for those, for those scenes, instead of it being like, all right, we're going to fight in the street. It's in every fight with a zombie or with with the brute or Wesker. It's all within a small area. So I guess that was fine. Wesker's is absolutely bonkers in this movie, but I know he's crazy. I know he's bonkers in the games too. Like he gets to this stage somewhat in the games. I mean, as we talk about how ridiculous these films are, the games aren't. The games also went in a similar direction when it got to 5 and 6.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest, 5 and 6 are similar in style to the movies. It's more of a run and gun, action oriented, game. Well, the games for 5 and 6, they were more action packed, and you're shooting a lot more, and it's not about conserving your ammo or your supplies or all that like the original games were. And so I feel that's where the games and the movies are kind of similar, which is unfortunate because 5 and 6 are probably the 2 worst Resident Evil games they ever made. So hey, I guess if you're gonna copy the games, you might as well go with the worst, huh? Oh boy.
I'm really excited because I am currently playing through Resident Evil 6, and I recently played through Resident Evil 5, and we know that the movies don't line up very well to any of the other games,
right?
But maybe Resident Evil 5, the movie, will line up with Resident Evil 5. So let's see if we go to, like, what was it? I think they went to Africa.
Yeah, that was 5. I think, Resident Evil 5 was in Africa.
Yeah, and Resident Evil 6 is somewhere in Europe. Sidonia. Yeah. There we go. They're in Sidonia or something. Yeah. No. The rest of it's somewhere else. But anyways. We're gonna see. Because, like, these movies just, they completely and totally just got rid of any and all scary aspects after the first one. They were just like, yep, get rid of it. Just throw it out the window. No scary things. We have no jump scares. Our jump scares are strictly very predictable things that have loud music.
Yeah.
And, like, there were so many times in the prison that they could have totally shifted everything into a nice horror movie. And then they were like, no, absolutely not. Only action.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. The thing of it is like, I actually, to be honest, I enjoyed this one more than I enjoyed Extinction. I think Extinction, for me, even though it is one of the best rated Resident Evil movies on IMDb, it's probably my least favorite. Well, so far, I mean, we still have two more that I have never seen. This one was better than Extinction. I know we're going to do the rankings at the end, but I just want to state now, this one I had more fun with. I laughed out loud. I've laughed out loud in every single one of these films, and I know they're not meant to be laughed at. I don't feel that's what Paul Anderson was doing when he made these movies. He's like, I want to make sure people laugh at this. They're comical, though, because some of the things that he chooses to do in them are just bonkers. It's like, literally, these movies are bonkers, and it's just, this is balls to the walls now. Like, who gives a shit? People are going to keep, seeing these movies. We're going to keep making them. And, they got, the thing is like, Mila Jovovich, I looked up how to say her name. That's how you say it. She definitely draws people in because I think Alice is an interesting character. And I think it's unfortunate that they had to create a brand new character when they made these movies. They, especially with all the characters they had in Resident Evil up to this point, because I know not all the Resident Evil games were out at this time. But you still had, of course, the characters are showing up now. You got Chris Redfield in the movies now, but Claire was in the last one, and this one you had Jill in 2, and in this one we'll talk about that later. So But it's unfortunate that you had to draw people in by creating a brand new character, but then you also went away from the source material. You only just, like we've talked about before, they're just sprinkling shit in. They're like, hey guys, we want to make sure you know this is a Resident Evil movie. Because guess what? That guy's here. Hey, that person's here. But it's like, yeah, but you can't just do that. Like, oh my God. But that's what they do now. That's what a lot of franchises do. They don't, they want to come up with original ideas. And I think when you look at like what Marvel has done with the MCU, they've changed a lot of their characters around to, I guess, better fit their universe. But it's good because, comic book characters can change all the time. I mean, how many different origins does Iron Man have, or Captain America? Like they all have different origin stories that you can kind of just mix and match and do all things that make sense to, when Iron Man came out in 2008, you had to make it relevant to that time, and the same with Captain America. But with this, it's like and it's not even just Resident Evil. This is most video game movies. They just like, not everybody plays the game. So if you want people to know, like, for instance, a good example, and I hope they stick to it, is The Last of Us. They're making a show on HBO based on the first game. Literally, and from what I've known, I mean, they're probably going to put new things that aren't in the game into the show, but it's supposed to be a series pretty much chronicling the first game. So the journey of Joel and Ellie through the first game, with some added stuff probably in the beginning, which is great because not everybody watched or played the game, but people need to know about this game because the story of The Last of Us is so good, in my opinion. I know there's people out there who have their say on how it might be overrated or whatever, but I'm talking about me. The Last of Us is a fantastic game with a fantastic story, and for people, and even if they literally copied it, exactly from the game, I'm okay with that. I'll rewatch The Last of Us as a show, and then have people like, for example, my wife, she doesn't play video games. She never watched me play it. I would love, but I want her to watch it because I want her to see, because the story is so good. These characters were so well developed and all that. And I feel Resident Evil, they could have done the same, like take the game and just, the game wasn't great when it first came out. Resident Evil 1 was kind of weird, especially the voice acting being terrible. It's on a PS1. PS1 graphics weren't great. But there was something there,
So with Resident Evil 1, there was enough of a vague story that you could have gotten an entire movie out of it. And the mansion was such a big part, and it still is such a big part of Resident Evil, that, like, if you don't know the layout of the original mansion by heart, chances are you're not a Resident Evil fan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's a single person who has grown up with this who doesn't know at least the basics of the layout of that place. And they could have easily just done that. It is modeled after a real mansion, so they could have just gone and filmed there. And
which would have been awesome.
Right. And they could have included everything in there, and they could have explained things better. They could have done a 1-by-1 comparison and just had more storyline and more plot. And instead of having a bunch of zombies the way that they did, like, especially in these later movies where they have just giant hordes of them, to be like, oh no, how will everybody get out of this? And it's like, yeah, okay, Alice is literally psychic.
Yeah.
They're gonna live.
No, keep going.
Like, I still can't get past that part, but they very easily, for the first movie, could have just done that. And then in the second movie, which the second movie is when the lab came in anyways, you could go back and visit the hive. And then third movie, they could have done everybody, like, they could have actually followed this linear and then just kept going on. And to be fair, if they had done that with the movies in the first place, probably would have made more sense than the video games that happened.
Yeah.
But instead, they just decided to go with this weird alternate universe. everybody seems to think that AUs are better for live action movies from video game adaptations, and it's like, no, it's okay. Like you said, for comics and stuff like that, there's so many different ones already.
Yeah.
That everybody's favorite is something different. So it's okay to kind of veer away from that, but you can still have the essence. These, you don't really get that option. You can't go super hardcore like this on the action, because out of all the Resident Evil games, the two that get the most hate are 5 and 6.
Yeah.
It's just a proven fact that those are the two most despised Resident Evil games out of all of them, because they are too action-packed. They are too much like Call of Duty. Yeah. And that's not what we want. We want the horror. And
it's all about
it's nice to have horror and the fighting. Like, that's kind of why we fell in love with it. And I'm not saying everybody. There are people who love 5 and 6. I am not that people. But, like, that's just the matter of fact.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was they did one a lot like the first game. They tried to do it like the first game, but from a different point of view with a different character and more explanation on like what actually happened down there.
Yeah.
And alternate universe almost. But they tried to pull from it a lot. And then in 2 and on, they were like, you know what? 5 and 6 were dope games. Right. We're going to just go that route, and that's all we're going to pay attention to. And it's just like,
yep.
You didn't pay attention to the actual people who liked Resident Evil, did you?
Well, that's, I mean, I never played 4, which I know is like people, like a lot of people's favorite Resident Evil, but they had a good mix. I remember, watching people play it, and I was like, okay, it's a good mix. It's just definitely different than Resident Evil, 1 through 3, and I know the other ones like Code Veronica and 0 and all that, but it was a good mix. It was still like creepy. It had the creepy, like the horror factors, but it was was a lot more of a shooter. But you still had to conserve, your ammo and supplies and all that. Which I'm glad they went back to in 7 and 8. But yeah, 5 and 6 was just kind of just a run and gun. Hey, there's zombies here. And it wasn't a horror game anymore. And that's what people liked about it. Like Resident Evil 1, when I was a kid, I played it when I was a kid. That shit scared me. Yeah. Like it was a scary game. I remember, walking down the hall, and when you got the zombie dogs jumping through the window, it actually made me jump. Not many games are like that anymore. No. And it sucks when they venture away from it and they're just using the name and the characters as kind of just like, as long as we keep the name Resident Evil and we keep the characters of like Chris Redfield, and was it Claire in 5 and 6 too, or was it Chris and somebody else? Not that it really matters, but
in 5 it's Sheva and I think it's Sheva and Leon, and then in 6 it's Chris and Leon. Chris and Leon meet. I think it's the first time they meet. And I was like, man, this tension. Why don't you two just kiss? Because they're like right here. They're like real mad at each other about Ada. And I was like, you both have a common thing. Like, just kiss. It's fine. But anyways. Yeah. So 6 has Chris, Leon, some lady named Helena, and then some dude named Piers, who has been on Chris's team before, I do believe. And then there's Sherry, which if you don't know or remember her, not in any of the movies, not in any of the games, but the one that but there is a replacement for her in the movies. Sherry is the little girl that in Resident Evil 2 you save. And so she comes back and now she works like to kill zombies. And I'm just like, yeah. And also you have Wesker's son, which if he was so busy being a bioweapon, how did he have kids?
Yeah, right. Bonkers. All I know is that we're almost 40 minutes into the show, and we still have not even started talking about this movie. I apologize, but it's just so much pre-stuff to talk about that the reason behind us talking about all this is because this movie is bonkers, and it's it's venturing as this franchise goes, as it ventures farther, along, it's just, it doesn't make any sense anymore. Like there's so much and it's crazy when the same guy is writing every movie
and they don't connect.
No, and there's no consistency. How do you gonna have one thing happen in the other movie and then just completely ignore it and be like everything happened differently, but some things that happened in the last movie we will be consistent to in this, and you're like, well, okay, what? The thing that really just bothers me is Paul W.S. Anderson directed, and I believe he might have wrote Mortal Kombat, so he did that in 1995, and as weird as that movie was for a movie made in 95, it was somewhat, it was a Mortal Kombat movie. It was a movie about a fighting tournament, and it, there's not much to go on with Mortal Kombat. Well, now there is. They have so much lore now, but I feel he did a good job for what he could do at that time, and I believe that was it might have been his first movie he directed, first mainstream movie. And so when I remember seeing, well, I didn't know, like, when you're a kid, you don't really pay attention to like the director or whatever, except if it's Steven Spielberg, because he's my idol. I didn't know that this guy was the same guy who directed that. And so I remember watching the first Resident Evil going, okay, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the game. And then I saw that it was Paul W.S. Anderson who directed it, and I was like, why? I feel you did so well in Mortal Kombat, even though it has its detractors and people don't like it and whatever, but it was Mortal Kombat. They had characters from Mortal Kombat in it that fought, and it was cool at the time, but it was a Mortal Kombat movie. So why couldn't you just make a good Resident Evil movie? And then you just kept, like, you wrote all of them. It's not like somebody else came in for 2 and 3 and just rewrote what your lore or where you were going with this. No, you wrote every single one of these movies, and they just became crazier and crazier, and they just didn't make any sense. And that's where we're at with Resident Evil Afterlife. And just think, we have 2 more of these. Where are they going to go? What is going on?
And I think it's a safe assumption that Mr. Anderson wrote every single Resident Evil within just like a constant string of days and nights being awake.
Yeah.
I feel like he kind of like skimmed the TLDR like Wikipedia of all the games and then was like, I can do this. And then realized that writing a script takes like several weeks. And so he tried to bust out every single script within a day. And he was just fueled by energy drinks and insanity.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. All right. Well, let's talk about this movie. Resident Evil Afterlife was released September 2nd, 2010 in Tokyo. And a week later, or 8 days later, on September 10th, 2010, which was, this movie always comes around my birthday. These movies were released. So it's 2 weeks before my 20th birthday. Or, no, 19th birthday. Sorry. Budgeted at $60 million and made worldwide box office of $300.2 million. This movie made almost $150 million more than Extinction. I believe Extinction clocked in at 148. So, yeah. And of course, because this was a movie that came out in the late 2000s, early 2010s, this was the 3D era. This is when like every action movie was, or just live action movie, everything was in 3D. Everything. You got to think the year before this was Avatar, which actually was good in 3D. I do remember seeing that in 3D. But yeah, everything that came out between like 2009 to like 2013, that's kind of a rough estimate. That was the 3D era where everything was just 3D. Okay. And you can tell in this movie, if anyone here has ever seen this movie, you know this is a typical 3D movie because everything's being thrown at your face. A lot. Again, This was written by Paul W.S. Anderson, but this is also his return to the director's chair. His first time directing a Resident Evil since the original Resident Evil. So an eight-year hiatus for being the director, but he did write all 6 films, and this is his return back to the director's chair, and he will, of course, be the director for Retribution and the final chapter, because he needed to right the wrongs, you know, even though he wrote all these things. Crazy. It came out to generally negative reviews. I don't know why.
Amazing.
But yet still made a crazy amount of money. Grossing a worldwide total of $300 million, Resident Evil Afterlife became the second highest grossing entry of the series. I guess based on budget. Or no. I'm probably talking about the other films. Because there are, like I said, there are 2 more movies after this. Again, starring Mila Jovovich. Of course, I learned how to say her name and then I completely screw it up. Because she is the, she's the poster child for these films. This is what gets people in the theaters. All right.
Pretty. I like the nice red dress that she had in the first couple of movies.
Yeah. Right. This movie got a 5.8 on IMDb, so it's actually the worst reviewed movie on IMDb so far in the Resident Evil saga here. But it won't be the worst, as I believe one of the final 2 has like the worst IMDb rating for the Resident Evil series. But like I said before, I don't think this is the worst Resident Evil movie so far.
No.
So IMDb, I don't know what you're doing. So Wentworth Miller, who played Chris Redfield, he's also in Prison Break. He said he was nervous about his character, Chris Redfield, being similar to his Prison Break character. In both cases, he is in a prison, and his first lines are, "I know a way out of here." Also, he's just a very dry actor who probably is the same guy in everything he acts in. So
yeah, it's okay to be.
There's no distinction between his characters. I've never seen Prison Break. I heard it was a great show. They probably should have hired the guy who played his brother in that show to be Chris Redfield, because that dude's a little bit more intimidating. Even though you say Chris is not an intimidating guy, but this guy just didn't fit that role for me.
Chris
didn't think he was terrible, but whatever.
Like, I didn't really feel like this guy was Chris. Honestly, I don't feel like a lot of the characters are themselves. I think Jill Valentine is the only one that I was like, yeah. And it's because they literally CGI'd her to look similar to her character in the game. But like, Chris doesn't look like Chris, Claire doesn't look like Claire, and not only do they not really look like the characters, but they also don't act like the character. So it's like they just have a name, yeah. And that's it. So
this is the first video game movie to be put out in 3D, because like we said, this is the 3D era. So the beginning scene definitely confused me. The whole rain scene in Tokyo. It was just very confusing to what we already had seen before. So what the fuck? But according to IMDb trivia, which is where I pull a lot of my trivia from, because, I mean, why not? The first scene in the beginning of the T-virus infection in Japan, it takes place years before the main plot of the film. So I'm guessing this is, when the outbreak happens at the Hive in Resident Evil, this had to have taken place at a similar time. Because watching the last film, it was all desert, and they pretty much said how, like, nothing could survive. And then we see this opening scene of a girl standing in a road. It's raining in Tokyo where people are just walking around. So yeah, it makes sense, but they don't explain that to you. It's kind of just, you got to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. Like, and So the beginning of the third movie is that the whole world is a desert and the oceans have been drying up. They're not dry, but they've been drying up, and how nothing can survive here. And then the opening of this movie, which they explained that there was a voice. It was Alice telling you this. And then in this one, they're like, here's Tokyo with zombies. And that's it. That's the end of it. And they don't tell you anything. And it's just so confusing. I thought this whole time that was like just before this. So why did they even show it? Why?
It was unnecessary. There was no reason to show this scene. There was literally no reason. Why? Because the next scene in the facility is not the same time as the scene before.
And it's not even the same facility.
No, so why did we need this? Oh, because we wanted to show you that the infection started somewhere else. Well, no shit. They explained that to us in the last movie when she's talking about how there's like literally the world is fucked.
Yeah.
So why did we? Oh my god.
I just don't understand. And why would it show Japan of all places? Like, I understand it's a heavily populated area. It's an island.
Well, they got to show Japan because, you know, it's Resident Evil. It's a Capcom game created in Japan. You know, Japan is going to have to make, you know, it's got to have some sort of appearance.
Okay.
Which, to be honest, this could have, to be honest, and this is just a guess. This could have just been Capcom going, hey, could you just kind of reference Japan in every single one of these movies, even if it makes no goddamn sense? All right. Sure.
I also think that now that you mentioned that it came out first in Japan, that they put this in strictly to have that.
Take it out.
But you could have made it make sense. Rather than just being like, hey, there's zombies in Japan. Like, when the whole world went to shit, there were zombies in Japan too. Like, yeah, that's how you went about this? Okay. Like, for all I know, they could have just gone to Japan.
Yeah.
Like, it would have made more sense in my mind if they were like, we have to go to the facility in Japan. And then it would have been like, oh, that's where it all ties in. Great. No.
Also, I have to say, this movie, it felt way less violent. Like, it was violent, but it wasn't as, like, bloody.
Yeah.
And, fun fact, it's the first Resident Evil movie that doesn't have nudity in it.
I noticed that. I actually commented to all my friends that they must not be very dedicated to the franchise.
Yeah. Yep. Sean Roberts, who played Wesker, and I believe he plays Wesker for the rest of the series, he actually auditioned to play Chris Redfield, but Westworth Miller, what a name, got Chris Redfield, and so he then auditioned for Wesker. And to be honest, I don't think he's terrible. He looks similar to Wesker from the games, kind of like beefier though. Like I wouldn't want to fuck with that dude, even if he wasn't a superhuman. But I thought he did decent, you know, as the bad guy. The things that he does in the movie are just absolutely bonkers.
They also don't make sense, just like that opening scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a moderately decent Wesker. I'm not displeased with him as a Wesker. That being said, now that you've said he was supposed to be Chris, like that he wanted to be Chris, I feel he would have been a better Chris overall. Yeah. Like, he has a softer face, he has a softer complexion than the person who Wentworth, who played him. He has a very, like, not even angry. I wouldn't say it's angry. It's like he's just really displeased with everything.
Yeah.
And Chris doesn't look like that. So it's just like not the biggest fan.
The fight scene between Chris and Claire at the and against Wesker at the end of the movie is almost identical to the fight in Resident Evil 5 where Wesker fights Chris and Sheva. So I guess that's a cool throwback to a game that's not very popular in the series, but hey, why not? If you're going to have Chris fighting Wesker, you got to put him, I guess, in that situation. Also, the way that Wesker moves, where he's like super fast, I guess is also a reference to the game. I think
It
it's
is a reference to the Wesker and Leon fight in 4, as well as I do believe a portion of the fight in 5. Not a huge one though.
Yeah,
The vast majority of the fight in 4 is closer.
It says the super speed that Albert Wesker manifests, as well as his grudge against Chris and Claire Redfield, are elements from the video games. His climactic fight with the Redfield siblings is reminiscent of 2 similar scenes from the games Resident Evil Code Veronica and Resident Evil 5. All right.
Yeah. Now the TLDR of the movie that could have been 30 minutes.
Yeah, I have 8 pages of notes on this movie. It's wild.
It's just all in my brain. It's a terrible dream.
Yep. We are literally almost an hour into the show, and we have not gotten to the plot yet. Hey, yes. Here we go. The plot of Resident Evil Afterlife, or Resident Evil Afterlife 3D. So the movie opens in the streets of Tokyo, Japan, as it is pouring out, which right now, I don't know, it was like a monsoon where I live. So it's very similar to the opening scene of this movie. But it's people walking around with umbrellas, kind of that cool shot from the set. Listen, this shot, or this scene was good, as like the cinematography was good, the shots were good. It just didn't make sense, and it didn't need to be in this movie, but I liked the way it looked. Of course, you get the slow motion of people walking by this woman who's just standing in the middle of a crosswalk, not using her umbrella, and you get the really cool like thumpy music going on as everything's happening.
The music and the entire shot in the cinema behind it, really, I had super high hopes for this movie because of this. I was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah. And you get the scene you get the shot where the guy is walking with his umbrella, and he kind of looks at her weird because she's just standing there. She kind of looks like Samara from The Ring, just kind of chilling in the middle of the street. And he looks at her, and it's like that slow-mo shot of him looking at her, and then her kind of, you could see her eyes kind of look over to him, and then and then it goes from slow motion to normal time, like really fast, and she attacks him. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what you get. And it's kind of a, what the fuck is going on? What time is this? Where are we? Why is this happening? Especially when they tell you nothing. Like, there's no opening scene going 8 years ago or whatever. Give me a clarification where we're at right now. No, this makes no sense.
Absolutely not.
And so again, this movie opens, well, when we get the credits there that shows the title card and all that, we get Alice going through the rundown of everything that's happening, because in every single one of these movies, we need a breakdown from Alice on what is going on. And of course, it's changing. And it shows the rooftop. There's a sniper. I believe we're still in Japan, right, with that sniper that's on the roof, and then he's got like somebody down low, and they're shooting at zombies. I could be wrong, but they're speaking. I don't want to assume, but I'm assuming it is Japan. The guy's speaking another language. Whatever. The guy.
I feel like at that point, my face was already in my hands because I was like very in distress about the fact that Japan was just totally fine.
Right.
After all this.
And it was a cool thing because the sniper shoots one of the zombies and he says biohazard down, which is a cool throwback to, well, it's a cool call to, because Resident Evil is called Biohazard in Japan. So it's kind of a nod to, Resident Evil's alternate name or actual name. And then, so he's talking to his friend, and something happens in his earpiece. I think that his partner is getting attacked. So like he gets a lot of feedback and like screaming in his ear. So he takes out the earpiece and then starts talking to him. Why did you take your earpiece out and then proceed to talk to him? Makes no sense. You're an idiot. And then he gets attacked by a zombie, and yay, we move on. So they are, we then find out they're umbrella workers for a facility somewhere. I'm guessing Japan. I'm just going to say Japan because I feel like that's where it is. It's a facility, and we get that really unnecessary X-ray shot of the facility because we need that in every single Resident Evil movie, showing like the inner workings of like where everybody's at and all that. And then we get Wesker. We meet the new Wesker because this is a new actor playing Wesker, which is, to be honest, a huge improvement from the Wesker of Extinction, who just looked like a dude who dyed his hair whatever color and then wore some really cheap ass sunglasses. This one looks a lot cooler. I like the actor a lot more. And he's always looking so serious wearing those sunglasses. But we got Intruders. And when we see Alice rocking this like skin tight outfit, she's got her hair back. She's ready to kick some ass. She's got her little Uzis. She's running. She starts running with the she has like knives and katanas and stuff. And we get awesome slow-mo shots of her doing crazy flipsy doozies and, you know, running up the walls and just throwing things. And and also we want to make sure you don't forget she has superpowers as she literally touches the ground and causes a like wave of destruction on the floor to knock out the rest of the, or probably kill all the people that are in front of her. And she's doing all this in heels, let's say, because the next shot is her walking and she's wearing heels, and you're like, impressive, very impressive.
Damn. Yeah, because I can barely walk in them, let alone fight people.
Yeah. And then, so you think in this scene, this is Alice that we all know so well. But no, this is one of the many Alices from the end of the film from Extinction. No, this is the army of Alices because they are expendable and they keep dying. Like they keep getting shot and you're like, oh no, Alice is dead. But then two more show up and they got guns and they're like jumping off of the freaking top of a parking garage or whatever the hell this is. And they're like shooting down and they're shooting. One gets shot. So now there's only one left. Drops down to where Wesker is. Wesker is a murderer. He literally is like trying to tell this guy to shut down the computer. The guy can't do it fast enough. Wesker just blows his brain out. And he then starts shooting at Alice. And like I said, Wesker's the one who actually shoots one of the two Alices that propel down. And then we get another awesome X-ray shot because we need more of these. Just give me more X-ray shots. God, and they don't even get better. They're all the same. They all look terrible.
They're all the exact same X-ray.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. And Wesker is just taking damage. Like he is an actual boss in a video game. He is getting grenades like thrown at his feet and blowing up, and he's just taking it like a champ. And his health bar is going down, but it's not quite there yet. So all these Alices need to stop him. Wesker then, so the Alices then all chase Wesker out to, because he steals one of the choppers. He goes out and then he ends up blowing the facility up with this really weird like implosion bomb that like it blows up, but then it like sucks everything back in, which was actually a cool shot.
And you're like,
you're like, oh no, all the Alices are dead because they were in there and they did not get out on time. But for one, he doesn't just destroy the goddamn facility. He like takes out the whole city. Like the wave of this bomb just completely obliterates the whole city. And you're like, well, okay, fuck everything. Not that there's people there, because it is a zombie apocalypse. So Wesker's on the chopper. He thinks he's out of the, he's clear. And that's when the real Alice shows up. And she starts doing, she thinks she has the upper hand on him. And nope, Wesker injects her with a drug that fights the T-virus, which I want to point out, the T-virus literally looks like a T. What?
Right.
No, the T-virus is supposed to just stand for tyrant virus. No, it's an actual fucking T. Oh my God.
They never actually looked into that, and they were like, it's just it's called the T virus because it looks like a T, and it's just like,
Yeah.
no. And how? Okay, so there is a medicine that attaches and removes the T virus. Yeah? Okay. Like, the way he explains it is it attaches and it just keeps it from doing stuff, like it's inactive in your body. You are no longer taken over by the T virus.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that we can't just get a nice little smoke bomb,
Yep. And this.
put it all in those people. They're probably going to fall over dead, which that's better than them eating the people who are still alive,
Yep.
in my opinion.
Yep.
And it would fix this.
I don't know. It's just bonkers. To be honest, I mean, yeah, it doesn't make sense that I just feel that, like, what is Umbrella's ultimate objective here? Like, what is the ultimate goal? Because I still don't know.
So the goal in the movie started off that they were just creating bioweapons, and it was supposed to be for war and stuff like that. They were supposed to be controllable bioweapons. And that's kind of what the BSAA stands for, which the BSAA hasn't even come into the picture yet. But it's like they wanted a controllable, unkillable weapon.
Yeah.
Which none of their experiments have been that, which in the first couple of movies they say that Alice is that. But the problem is they can't control her, so technically she's not that thing. And it's the same thing in the games, but like, I don't know what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Like, they made a bunch of Alices, and their whole thing was to show that that all the Alices were able to complete these tasks like a lab rat in a puzzle. But they never tried to get one that they could control.
Yeah.
And they just kind of gave up on it because it would make a cool action scene. And it's I also am completely lost.
So I don't hate that they made her mortal again. Like, they made her just a regular person, but then she continues to do shit that a normal person couldn't do. So it made no sense to me why this even mattered. But whatever. She doesn't have her superpowers now. And as Wesker is distracted, pretty much he was going to kill Alice. She pretty much is like, yeah, you might want to look out the window there. And Wesker, the chopper literally flies right into a mountain. Now that Alice is immortal, like, she doesn't have superpowers anymore. How'd she survive this crash? That thing is flying really fast into the side of a mountain, and she gets out of it like she just fell off her bike. Like, oh man, she's got some bumps and bruises. I'm all right. Like, what the? You just showed us that she doesn't have powers anymore. Holy crap!
But she's fine.
So after that, we jump 6 months later, and Alice is flying in a plane. This is when we get, like, the Blair Witch Project Alice edition, because we get so many shots of her recording, like, a vlog of the things that are going on in the world, or at least her journey trying to find the survivors up in Alaska, because that's where she thought they were going, which ultimately they did. But then, we see later that it was for naught. But man, Alaska's pretty. Like, these are really great shots. And I looked at my wife like, man, we're going to Alaska at some point in our lives. Alaska's beautiful. Yeah, we need to go on vacation. And then, yeah, of course. So Alice is trying to go to Alaska. She's trying to meet up with the survivors that flew away at the end of extinction, which is Claire, Kmart, and then a bunch of random people we don't know their names. And to be honest, the scene of her, like the outside scenes of the plane look great. The inside scenes of her in the plane look terrible. Very bad digital effects there. And Alice is wearing a really cool like bomber jacket with like the floofies around her neck. I was like, okay, all right, I like your jacket. And then, but we always get that intense music for no reason at all. Nothing is happening on screen other than her flying, and we're getting some like heavy metal, like
yeah.
Why?
Lore.
yeah. She then lands at we're guessing an airport. Well, it was an airport, and there's just planes everywhere. And she's nervous because she's like, oh, I guess other people knew to come up here, but she doesn't see the umbrella helicopter that Claire took. So she goes through, and finds the helicopter on a beach, and she then goes, I'm going to go over to this log and do another freaking vlog session here because I need to tell whoever about what's going on. And then that's where you see like a flash. You see like it's a person, which, oh, who are you? And then she starts chasing him back into the plane, the airplane, let's say graveyard. Oh, and also Alice finds her scrapbook that she gave to Kmart before she flew away in extinction, which had like, where they need to go and a bunch of other notes that Alice had been taking. And also I thought the oceans were gone, but I guess not. I don't really remember. I don't know.
And like right exactly where they need to be for having beaches.
Yeah. Also, this is 2010 and the video quality of her camcorder is god awful. What the fuck are you using? It's just terrible. And then when she chases her, she leaves her camera on that log and then somehow gets it back. I guess she might have just went back. Not that it really matters. And then, of course, Alice can't go anywhere without having the double pistols. She's got to have those double pistols. And she corners whoever it is into a plane. Doesn't know who it is. And then as she gets closer, somebody jumps out and starts attacking her and, trying to fight her. And then that's when Alice sees that she has like a spider bot like attached to her chest, and she rips it off. I guess this is a reference to the game. I guess there's like that spider bot is in one of the games.
It's attached in 5 to, I do believe, I want to say it's Jill. And she's like,
it happens to Jill in Resident Evil 5. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, she's like super ninja in there, and you have to. The whole point of like the fight is you have to get one character to like. I think you have to get Chris to hold her back, and then you got to use Sheva to like rip it off. But Sheva like gets on top of her chest and is like pulling it off. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, like.
There's no way one person should have been able to remove this.
Yeah, in the middle of the fight, Alice literally just grabs it and just rips it out, like, super easy. And you're like, oh, all right. She asks... So you find out it's Claire. She asks who she is. Well, Alice asks Claire, who are you? Or do you remember me? And she doesn't remember anything. So it's a very reminiscent to Alice in the first movie. And a few other characters throughout this franchise. It's just a common thing. People just forget things. But it's also probably because of the device that was attached to her chest. Or she was supposed to be transferred, because I know they show the scene later on where they all show up on the beach and they just start attaching those things to everybody. Yeah. I'm guessing Claire was supposed to be transported to the same facility. She escapes, but she still has the thing on her, which probably was pumping her up with drugs or doing whatever it was doing, which then made her not remember Alice or what the hell is going on. And it takes her a while to get her bearings and to remember who she is, which, to be honest, I hate that. I hate when it takes forever for somebody to like figure it out. Like, like I'm spending 40 minutes of this movie just being like, Claire sucks because she's literally useless. She's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, the whole movie.
Know. You're like, oh my God. Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. let me slap my brother when he says he's my brother and explains that he's my brother and so does everybody else.
Yeah. So then we have Alice and now clean-looking Claire flying in the plane, heading towards L.A., and L.A. ain't looking so good these days. They fly over the Hollywood sign that is literally like on fire. But half of the buildings are either decrepit or on fire. But they see a sign on top of a building that says stop, and there's about 4 people down there trying to get this plane to stop. This is why while Alice is doing a vlog in the plane, talking to Claire, who's somewhat remembering things a little bit. And I do like the line, though, where she's like, well, now that we've talked, can you let me out of the restraint? She's like, maybe we should get to know each other a little bit more before I do that. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. Be like, hey, oh, okay, yeah, sure, why not? And then something bad happens. That's how stupid people die in movies.
Yep.
And as crazy as these movies are, Alice is not stupid.
Alice is the one character that still makes kind of sense. Like, her psychic powers were the only thing that I really questioned. Everything else kind of, it all makes a lot of sense coming from her. It's everybody else that, like, but why? Yeah. But why?
Why? What is going on here? What is happening? Oh, man. So so this is very reminiscent to Dawn of the Dead. In Dawn of the Dead, they have the scene on top of the roof of the mall where they're talking to another guy that's on a building across from the mall, and it's kind of like them talking about forth. It's kind of reminiscent to that. Of course, we've talked about Dawn of the Dead many times on the show, especially since this is a zombie movie. Watch Dawn of the Dead. Those are actually good movies. And when I say movies, it's because there is a original Dawn of the Dead from the 80s, and then there's the remake, the Zack Snyder remake from 2004. Both great. Go watch them. Skip these. We get the right. Yeah. She's gonna try to figure out how to land on this roof, which is just absolutely insane. She flies over them, almost hitting everybody on the roof, which is like, what the fuck? And even the people on the, like, after they fly over, the Bennett, which is we call him the evil mustache guy, because he's literally got like the generic evil like the guy twirls his mustache. It was him and Luther. They're pretty much like, what the fuck? Is she trying to kill us? It's like, pretty much, man. It's crazy. But there's
somehow we need to help.
Yeah. And you see a shot from the sky of like how many zombies are on the ground, and like you can't even see the street anymore. That's how many zombies are wandering around LA. And then Alice then gets to the roof and lands the plane, but the roof isn't very big, and in reality, you couldn't do this. This is utterly impossible. Even if you were to hit one edge of the building and have that space, you're still going to either flip the plane or you're just going to fly right off the other side, because there's no way you're slowing down that fast. And the craziest part is they stop at the end. So the plane makes it to the other side, but it crashes through the wall and then is like hanging there. And Luther, listen, this guy is a big dude, but there's no way Luther is running up and hopping on the tail of this plane and it feels like he didn't even have to use any like effort, and the plane just boop.
And like did a pull up, and then the whole plane came down, because that's how gravity works, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this 160 to 180 pound dude just tilted back a whole plane.
And then, how did they get the plane back like to the middle of the roof? That thing was hanging off the side. There's no way you're pulling that thing off. Like pulling that thing back. That thing is, you're better off just getting out of the plane and just letting the plane fall to the ground. Because that's what it should have done.
That edge, you are
ridiculous.
You're done. You can't do it. You can't pull it back. You have to have something to pick it up. And 3 to 5 people are not going to be strong enough to pick up an airplane of that size to be able to pick it up enough to get the tires back on.
It's just insane. We then see So then after Alice and Claire get out of the plane, the survivors are talking about, oh, you're from Alaska? Or have you been to Arcadia? And they're like, no, it's not real. It's not what we thought it was. And everybody's all sad about it. But then proceed to go, hey, look at this boat that's fucking called the Arcadia. What? So you guys are all sad that Arcadia isn't real, meaning like it's not the Alaska Arcadia, or like Piggy said before, there's one in California. Probably not what they were talking about. They were talking about Alaska. That you're sad that doesn't exist, yet you've known that there's a boat in the harbor that's called the Arcadia. So maybe you should have put 2 and 2 together a long ass time ago. Fucking idiots. So dumb.
They're like, that one's fake. And it's like, oh man, Arcadia's fake. That's so sad. Like, oh no. And then they're just like, we got a boat out back. Well, what's it called? The Arcadia.
They're like, what? So, oh yeah, and then you had Luther trying to hit on Alice because he's famous. Such a dumb thing. You know, when they go around and they say like who everybody is, like Luther was like a professional athlete. I don't know if he was a basketball player or whatever he was, but yeah. So you know who I am? Like, bro, it's a zombie apocalypse. She probably don't give 2 shits about who you are. Nah. And then they got to go through and they got to talk about each person. I think I don't remember what Angel did. Angel was the Hispanic guy. I can't remember what his occupation was before everything. But then you had, oh boy, trying to remember characters' names.
Janitor down in the basement with who was Chris's best friend. And then you had the
Crystal.
apprentice guy.
Well, yeah, that was Kim Young, which was Bennett's assistant or intern or whatever the hell he was, who pretty much was his little bitch boy. You had Luther, which we've talked about. Then you had Crystal, which I was really, no offense to any women out there that's named Crystal, but I really was assuming she was just going to say I was an adult entertainment star, just because I'm sorry. But to be honest, she did say she was an actress. And Bennett, who is the biggest piece of shit of this whole group, is a movie producer. And Luther has to yell, like, you know, in it. This isn't the only movie they do this in, but like some dude's an asshole and they got to be really loud about it. Luther's like, and he's such a piece of shit. And you're like, oh, I don't. He already knows. He looks back like, yes, I know I am. Thank you. Stupid. So Claire starts remembering what happened in Alaska. She pretty much tells Alice about how they landed on the beach there, and then there were boats coming in with people, and they thought that they were there to help, but instead they worked for Umbrella, and they needed to get all the survivors and bring them back. They attached those spider bot things to everybody's chest and try to take them away. Claire somehow escaped. Didn't really get much more other than that, but you know that Kmart is still alive somewhere, wherever she is, which you don't know where she is at this point.
It's 8 months since the previous movie, yeah?
8 months? That's it?
Is that, or is it 8 weeks?
Oh, I have no idea. Anyways, they might have said it.
I have no idea. So we're gonna just say it's been 8 months. I think it has. Like, what did Claire eat for 8 months?
There's no animals.
There's no animals. You, like, I guess you could fish, but you need supplies to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And, like, even if it was 8 weeks. So, like, they arrive on the beach and immediately they all get taken in by the people that work for the BSAA. And or Umbrella, because I don't think they ever actually put the BSAA in here. But when Umbrella dies, it, like, the company that was head of Umbrella and then just took everything over was the BSAA. Yeah. And so, like, okay, so they all got the little spider thingies. What did she eat? If she is being controlled what did she eat? Did she just find random leaves and chew on those? Like,
it's one of those things that you just don't.
You're not supposed to ask questions.
Exactly.
Gotta make. If you're gonna put survival situations in a movie, at least explain them.
Yeah. And then my next note is zombie survivor show happening. Where's Jeff Probst? I guess there was a scene that was very reminiscent to like a Survivor show, and I don't remember what this was. So cool note from me. If anybody watches this movie and figures out what the hell I'm talking about, let me know.
Yeah, that I actually know the Survivor. Like it was, she was like living out in the forest, and then they both meet up and like they make a fire and they're sitting there talking, and she's like all tied up to the thing because it's like a survivor.
Yeah.
They're in the forest, but also there's a plane right there.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yep. Okay. I love when I make notes and then completely forget the scene that the note is about, and I'm just like, oh, well, I guess I'll read it anyways. We then find out that this building was once a prison. Listen, I mean, there probably is, but I've never seen a prison like this. This is bonkers. Usually prisons, even prisons in the big city, like especially in LA, usually they're not in the middle of the city.
Nope.
Usually it's usually like out there in like where people aren't going to be going a lot. So this was crazy. So we get the rundown of who everybody is. The Bennett, who was the evil mustache man, was a dick movie producer. And Luther has to make that very well known that he's an asshole. There's a man in a box as Luther brings Alice around the prison. We meet, what was his name? Wendell? Yeah, Wendell. He was the guard, he was the guy watching the box. And we find out it's Chris motherfucking Redfield. Ooh. And we then get a scene where Alice like brings out her like spread of blades, and I was like, damn, is she a vampire hunter now too? Like she's on vampires and zombies? This is crazy. She just wow. We then get the scene where Wendell is reading some very not safe for work material. Which the funny thing is they say there's no nudity in this movie, but there is, because on the cover of this magazine, or actually it shows a page of this magazine with a naked woman on it. Technically, no characters in the movie are naked, but you do see nudity in this movie. So IMDb, you lied, and I'm going to be very
perceptive of it, though.
Exactly. And we then see like a weird like hole in the ground in the shower room, and I immediately thought of Pennywise from the 1990 miniseries of It, where it was like the really weird effects where he comes out of the shower to scare one of the kids. I was like, Pennywise, is that you? And then we get to see the tyrant, or the whatever the hell this guy is, walking down the street looking straight up like a Pyramid Head clone, but instead of the Pyramid Head, he has a bag over his head. Literally, I was like, are we watching Silent Hill now? Like, what the hell is going on? Oh, man. And then we get a scene where Luther brings Alice to the showers. And of course, like immediately, because I had never seen this movie, immediately I'm like, is this where we're just going to get the most unnecessary nudity? Like, I was just envisioning that. I was like, we're just going to get this like unnecessary thing that they don't need to film, but they're going to do it because why not? Stay consistent to the other movies. But we don't, thank God. And she sees that Wendell is spying on her, or Wendell's scared. You don't really know, but it's more like Wendell's just a perv and is spying on Alice as she's she's trying to take a shower. And then we meet the zombies, like a couple zombies break into the shower area. And have you ever seen the show The Strain?
No.
So these zombies, like they have the weird tongues that like spread out.
Yeah.
This show had vampires that had a very similar, like it would like shot out of their mouth, and that was how they bit people to turn them into vampires. And I was like, damn, this is literally the same thing. This is weird as hell. Why do zombies have these? weird ass tongues.
So it's supposed to be a homage to I don't know, to 4.
Oh, okay.
In 4, they have the Las Plagas instead of the T virus, and they have like weird mouth thingies, and also their heads like split open, and like the dogs do in this one, actually.
Yeah. We got advanced zombie pooches.
Yeah.
And then yeah. So we're all the group is together because I think Wendell ends up dying in this scene. That one of the zombies kills him. And so now everybody's down by where Chris is being held, and they're all arguing whether or not they should let Chris out. And everybody's arguing it. Like Alice and Luther are like, yeah, it's probably a good idea. He can help us. And then that freaking Bennett guy, we shouldn't do that. Oh, and it's like, dude, why is this guy even locked up? We talked about this before. Why is he even locked up? But whatever. We get a really shitty reason why he's in there, and so dumb. And then we get a really awesome brother-sister reunion between Chris and Claire, where Claire doesn't remember him, and Chris is just very awkward about it. Like, okay. And then Alice is like, yeah, let's, she doesn't know shit, so don't worry about it. Then we get Baghead showing up to the main gate outside the prison as he takes his gigantic hammer, and he politely knocks on the door to let him in, but they don't want to let him in. And this man is huge because he makes the zombies around him look very, very small. We then get the scene where Alice, Chris, and what was her name? Crystal, who I just put down as the swim champ lady. That was literally why she was part of the scene, because she's like, I was the swim champion in high school. And I was like, well, that's why you're here. And that's why you're going to die. They're trying to find a armory, which is on the other side of this flooded area of the prison. So all three of them swim over, and they get to the other point, and then Crystal dies. She gets attacked and really fast, just gets like attacked and just dragged into the water. And Chris and Alice, they literally get over this girl's death within a second. They're in the armory and they're laughing and shit, and you're like, man, you just witnessed a woman just getting murdered out there by a zombie, and you guys don't care. You guys forgot about it within a second.
Kids in a candy store, literally seconds after watching a woman die.
Exactly.
Good.
Yeah, we have, and then Luther and Claire are outside by the gate, and they're trying to prevent Big Hammer Boy and his friends from coming in. And Claire gets about 4 or 5 headshots on this dude, and he just eats them. He just absolutely eats them up. Doesn't affect him at all. And also, I hate, like, if you're gonna do scenes underwater, can you make it so I can see what is going on?
No.
It's so murky. It literally looked like I jumped in a pool that had just been chlorinated, and I'm opening my eyes without goggles on. And all you just see is just silhouettes. It's terrible. Jaws came out in 1975 and had better underwater shots than this movie did. Unreal. Terrible.
Oh.
And it doesn't make it suspenseful, okay? Because nothing happened. If it was shot like that, and then it was like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Is a fucking swimming zombie going to come out of somewhere? That would have made it more interesting, but nothing happened.
For the zombie alligator, but I mean, I know it's Los Angeles, but still, like, the zombie alligator.
You could escape from the zoo.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there could have been such good points there. Yeah. And no, just a weird water scene.
So yeah, the Crystal dies. The tentacle zombie attacks her, and then they go to the armory, and there's a lot of guns in the armory, and Alice is pumped. She's laughing. She is like giddy as all be. Like completely, totally oblivious to the fact that girl just got murdered. But we move on. So then they let Chris out. They're outside. They're like, Chris is like, yeah, there is a tank vehicle in this garage. We can literally take this thing. We can bulldoze through all these zombies and go to the Arcadia, which was that's their new plan. Unfortunately, they go into the garage and find out the engine to the tank is not in the tank. And that's when fucking Bennett just whips out a gun and murders Angel. Because they asked, hey, how long is this is it going to take to get this engine in the tank? And he said, it'll take about a week. And Bennett just straight up murks this dude. Point blank. And then his fucking little crony there, who's not, he's just a little bitch-ass boy who does everything that Bennett says, is like, why did you do that? And pretty much then Bennett determines, Bennett did it because he was going to steal the plane.
Yep.
Which then he doesn't take his buddy with him because he doesn't care about him.
Not just that, but also Bennett couldn't have just left and taken the plane with, like, by himself before that.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that he could not have done alone while nobody was watching him?
Exactly.
Like,
oh, man.
It's this big giant thing instead and was like, yes. This is how we're going to get the airplane.
So they find out Bennett's stealing the plane. Everybody goes back up to the roof. These people, for the elevators not working, they get to the roof really fast. All of them. So Bennett is taking off, and everybody's up there. Bennett, he gets off the roof, and it looks like he's going to crash. Everybody's all excited, like, yay, he's going to die. And then he doesn't. And he makes it. Alice puts everybody in the elevator, and they can't get the elevator to go down, so Alice literally blows up the mechanism for the elevator and sends it crashing because she's like, there's water underneath there. Probably still would kill everybody. Even if it hit a lot of water that had built up in the elevator shaft, people are dying. Okay?
The shock would have damaged somebody. Like... Your legs would be angry. People probably would have had broken ankles. Like, if they stayed standing up, if they stayed vertical, they would have damage and severe injuries.
Yeah.
And if they laid down, again, the shock because it hits and then there's a pocket of water under it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's just...
What?
It would have hurt. It would have hurt no matter what you did, and nobody seemed to be hurt.
No. We then see Alice. So there's a lot of zombies on this rooftop. Don't know how they got up there so fast, but we just have to just ignore it all. And then Alice decides she's going to throw she throws down an explosive on the roof. And then proceeds to tie like a bungee cord on herself, and then proceeds to swan dive off the side of this building, and then the roof explodes behind her, and you're like, I thought she didn't have superpowers anymore. How is she going to survive this? Oh, well, expand your disbelief and just go with it. Because she does some crazy slow motion shooting in midair as she's falling, and then cuts herself from the cord within 25 feet of hitting the ground, which even at 25 feet, you're hitting solid ground, something's breaking. I don't care if you do a fucking army roll, your knees are snapping, things are breaking. Okay. But Alice doesn't have her powers anymore. We got to remember that, okay?
Human now,
Holy
but
crap.
Didn't die from jumping 15 stories up. Off.
So then we get Alice shooting more zombies, and there is just so much slow motion in the scene of her literally just shooting at the zombies, and you're like, why do we need all this slow motion?
And then you remember it's a 3D film!
But it wasn't even scenes that were meant for 3D, it's just we need slow motion. Why?
Because these people just... I feel it's like when you write an essay and you just put filler words in and stuff like that. Like, that's what slow motion is to me, is it's just filler because you have no idea what to put in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So, especially when it's this much.
Yep. Crazy. We then are back in the shower room where everybody is going to go down the Pennywise hole. And as everybody's starting to go down, Claire and Alice are stuck in the room with Hammer Boy. Or maybe it's just Claire. I think Claire's the one who starts out the fight, and then Alice shows up later. And he's swinging that axe really slow. and it's making her look like she has to move really fast, even though this dude isn't fast. And she does a really cool slide slow-mo shot of her shooting like his face as she slides in between his legs.
That would be so hard. You have to get him to lean over, to lean forward.
Yeah. Why is he standing like that? Why is he standing with his legs so spread?
Gotta have a wide berth.
To hold that hammer.
All of that, yeah.
So yeah, so she shoots him. He falls. She thinks he's dead. But yeah, you get so much slow motion in this shot or in this entire scene. But then he gets back up, and the last thing he does is he takes his hammer axe thing and throws it straight at the screen in slow motion because it's a 3D movie. It's coming right at your face, which actually is probably the coolest 3D scene of the movie. I really liked it. And after it hits the wall, Alice headshots him to end his life, pretty much just blows his head up. And they get a really cool scene where they look back at the thing stuck in the wall and they're like, oh shit. All right. And I literally was like, what the fuck did I just watch for the last 5 minutes? This was utter craziness. Like, insane.
You watched a bathroom brawl.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes, and only like 3 actions were taken in it. That's it. When my brain finally processed that like almost nothing had happened in that fight, my brain just like shut down. It was like, no. Yeah. Because she, like, all it is like Claire shooting a couple times and then sliding under him, and then it's that end part. That's it. Yep. But it took 5 minutes.
It's like, what is happening? We then. So wait, where the hell am I? Oh, we're now with the people who escaped down the Pennywise hole. So they're in the tunnel, and everybody's reunited. But no, Luther. He gets sucked up into the freaking ceiling, and you're like, no, I liked you. Why did you have to die? We then we then see Alice. We then see everybody else get onto a boat and drive into the fog like Dexter in the series finale. Fuck you, Dexter, and your shitty series finale. Dexter's coming back, though. Thank God. But yeah, we get that shot where they drive into the fog. And we're finally at the Arcadia, and they find the plane. The mustache man made it. Fuck you, Bennett. They find out that there are 2,000 possible survivors on this boat, and they're like, what the fuck? How? But guess what? This boat is run by Umbrella, and they be fucked. And boy, oh boy, when you're designing a bad guy lair, white is not the optimal color. All right. Everything is so fucking white in this. I was like, my God, I can't see.
It is blindingly white
Holy
in the
crap.
whole thing. And it's just like, you're working with literal bio weapons and
can't see shit.
3 dead humans.
Oh man.
And you went with white.
Yep. They sure did.
As a white human, I can't keep white. Like,
oh no, absolutely not. White is the worst color ever. I mean, my walls are white, but it's usually dark in here, so you can't see anything if it's dirty.
There's a reason I've got a backdrop.
So we find out that there are the survivors that they took from the helicopter, and probably other survivors, because there was 2,000 survivors. And there definitely wasn't 2,000 survivors that made it to Alaska. They are put into like cryo chambers, and guess what? Kmart's there. Kmart's still part of this franchise because we saw her before in a flashback. So we find out she's good. And to be honest, I liked her character, so I was happy to see her back, even though trivia fact, She does not speak at all in this movie, except for in flashbacks from Extinction. She has 0 lines in this movie.
Is it a safe assumption to say that Kmart funded some of these movies?
Like the store?
Yeah.
Maybe.
They were like, please.
That's where all their money went. Like, this is why they had to file for bankruptcy.
Well, that's where all their money came from.
Oh, man.
They were like, hey, Kmart, we'll put your... Like, they probably sent a letter to all the big, giant box stores and were like, hey, you want to be advertised in our movie as, like, the coolest advertisement ever? And they were like, yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Oh, man. See, so Alice ventures off by herself and she finds some bloody chambers and she touches one of them and it like shows a flashback or something, some weird vision that I couldn't tell you what it was. And then there's blood marks being dragged, like there's drag marks on the floor. And it's weird because when they show the entire room, you don't see any of these blood streaks. But once all the chambers go up, then the blood shows up. What? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Makes sense, right?
And I just want to know who designed this place. Like, this place is just absolutely insane. There is not it's white, and more white. With no alter. Oh, maybe a little bit of red. Sorry, we got to put some little like red highlights somewhere. Like,
not just that, but how do you get like a 3-story tall airline hangar inside of the ship that the Arcadia is?
Oh, man.
How do you do that?
I don't know. It's just crazy. She walks into the room where there's some zombies on tables. And guess what? Wesker sitting there all kingly on his throne. Oh, man. And then we see the zombie pooches. Guess what? You can't have a Resident Evil movie or game without zombie pooches, all right? But these are advanced zombie pooches because they split in two and they have weird long teeth inside their split heads. This shit is bonkers. Oh yeah, and Mustache Man is there too as he's got a gun up to Alice. And he looks he looks really bad.
He's not good.
Did he get bit and I missed it?
No, they didn't show anything. He just looks like shit.
Okay. And she says it too, which I liked.
So I think what happened was like Wesker was like, if you can get me, like, if you can bring Alice here, then like I'll make you the same as me. But the problem is that Wesker is the way he is because of his DNA, not because of the vaccine or the virus that he took. So we find out that Wesker has been injecting himself with the T-virus, but his body cannot control the T-virus as well as Alice's. Alice was pure, like her body could fight the T-virus, but it also made her superhuman, which he is superhuman too, but the T-virus is fighting back, and so he pretty much he's like glitching out, and so he needs her blood so that he can control the T-virus better for himself, because he pretty much wants to make himself a god. Alice then attacks him. She fights with the dogs. Chris and Claire show up and have a weird fight with Wesker as we continue to get so much slow motion. But we also talked about how this fight is reminiscent to fights in some of the games between Wesker and Chris Redfield. One of them was with the girl from 5, and then one of them is with his sister. Yep.
Weird. He gets Chris and Claire trapped in the chambers and starts to put them down so they can get frozen. We get a really bad, worst CG of this entire movie, which, to be honest, every movie, the CG has improved, I have to say, which is good because these movies keep coming. I mean, this movie came out 8 years after the original Resident Evil. So, like, the fact that the CG looks better is good, because if it looked the same or worse, what the fuck is going on here?
it's going in the right direction, but not fast enough.
Yeah.
Like, there were definitely, in every single year that these movies came out, and every single movie has CGI in it. It's just, they've lessened it here and there, and they realized that more is not best.
Yeah.
But, like, if you turn back and you look at all the other movies that were made during that time, there is better CGI technology.
Oh, yeah. But you also got to look at the budget, too. I mean, $60 million is a lot of money.
Yes.
But if you look at something like Deadpool, which came out in 2015, 2016, the first Deadpool, their budget was $57 million. And the CG is vastly better than any CG that I've seen so far in these movies. But the CG does get better in the Resident Evil movies. It wasn't terrible. They're really, and to be fair, there's really not a lot of CG. This one had a lot of CG because there's, especially with the Wesker fight, because he's, you know, superhuman. He's moving fast and like doing crazy things. And same with Alice. There's a lot of CG, but it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great. But when she kills one of the dogs, it is some terrible CG. Like, it like splits the dog in half and it just looks so bad. I was like, what happened here? Did they run out of money on this scene and just said, well, we got to do the best we can? Wow.
Yeah. Like, we got a 15-year-old doing our CG.
Yeah. We also find out that Wesker has the weird tentacle tongue.
Yes.
Because, okay, we needed that.
Great to make out with.
Yeah, and then Kmart comes in and knocks Bennett out. We need that.
Yay!
We then get a dumb fucking scene of Wesker on the ground, and Claire and Chris stand over him and proceed to shoot him fucking 20,000 times in the chest. Why did none of your bullets go into his head?
Right.
Why didn't you spray his entire body to possibly make sure he's dead? No, we shot him all in the same exact spot. And it was some stupid, like, if anybody's seen Boondock Saints, they did it way better, where they stand over their victims and they do their little prayer and then they shoot. No, it's them standing over like it's supposed to be looking cool as they like continuously shoot him in his chest. And it's stupid. God damn it.
What really got me is, like, you know that zombies can't be killed unless they're shot in the head.
Yeah.
Unless you sever the spine from the brain.
Listen, they talked about this in Night of the Living Dead that came out in 1968. But still, in 2010, at this time of this movie, we still don't remember this shit. Fucking idiots.
And despite the fact that they've lived through now, like, 5 years worth of zombie apocalypse they have all lived through.
Yeah.
So, but they don't know that, like, they have to remove the head from the spine. Because if that were me, if I were any of these people, my first reaction would be to just cut his head off and put that in a bag. Like, I'm going to take it with me because as soon as it starts talking, I'm going to make sure to dissect it into enough pieces that it can't come back. Like,
well, guess what? We have 2 more movies, so you can't do that to Wesker yet. Because guess what? He ain't dead. He ends up locking Bennett in a room with the zombies. Zombies killed Bennett, so goodbye, you piece of shit.
Was it the zombies or was it Wesker?
Did Wesker kill him?
I think Wesker.
Oh, that's right. That was what that. Yeah, because I said probably not, as he most likely killed that idiot. So yeah, Wesker ends up killing Bennett in the room because they lock Bennett in the room.
Well, because Wesker also explains that, like, he has to eat humans. Like, he has to feast on living flesh in order to keep the virus at bay as well as he does. And he needs to consume blood and, like, flesh in order to heal himself and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We then see that Wesker's still alive. He escapes in a chopper. Don't know how he got in front of them because they ran out way before he did, but somehow he got in front of them, stole a helicopter, and just flew away before they even got to the hangar. But Alice was tricky and attached and threw one of a bomb inside the helicopter.
The only bomb.
Yes. It flies away. Wesker's all like, "Yep, I'm good to go." And then he sees that the bomb's there, blows up the helicopter, and you just gotta, I guess, assume that he's dead. He's not. Spoiler alert. We find out Luther's still alive. Doesn't explain how, but I guess he fought off all those zombies, didn't get bit, but he's at the end of the tunnel doing like a cool, like Rocky moment there as he sees the helicopter explode, and he's not far from the Arcadia. Alice proceeds to go to the radio and call out to all survivors like Optimus Prime did at the end of the Transformers movie. Calling all Autobots. If there are any survivors out there, we're here. Like, okay.
Yep.
But then...
And she did the same thing that was already broadcasting.
Yeah, right? She literally just... I want to do it in my voice, though.
Yeah. I want everybody to hear me.
Yes. We then see all of the survivors just standing on the deck in their bright white outfits, and then 9,000 umbrella helicopters just come out of... Why did there need to be so many of them? I'm like, man, there are helicopters. Like, these things should be crashing into each other.
My question is, were they coming out there to kill Wesker? Or were they coming out there because they knew that Alice was there? I need to know. I need to know this.
So many.
We're coming out there. Like, I understand why there would be so many if they were coming to fight Wesker. Because Wesker has now injected himself and he's just wild and he's crazy and he's killing everybody. But, which, that ship would have been more important to me as Wesker than anything else, because that is a pretty well unlimited supply of humans. So why wouldn't you just try to just get rid of everybody? If you can fly that plane, why not just get rid of all the live people on the ship? Nope. No. Instead he flies off. But if they were coming to fight Wesker, I can understand why they had so many. Because, like, you would need that many. But if they were coming to get Alice... Why?
I don't know.
And how did they know
There's
she was there?
So many. There's literally a chopper for every survivor on that freaking ship. I'm like, they're showing the scene. Like, these choppers should be like crashing into each other. Why did they need so many?
Close.
Dumb.
Those are such good pilots.
Fantastic. We then see Jill Valentine again, portrayed again by Sienna Gilroy, who played her in Resident Evil Apocalypse. So I like that they brought her back. But guess what? She's leading this army of umbrella soldiers or stars or whatever the fuck they are. But you see as she's walking with her very low cut shirt, because that's what you wear when you lead you're leading an army. Let's display them, baby. Because you got to see the spider bot that's on her chest. So she's being manipulated. So it's kind of a thing like she's being manipulated to do the thing, to do this. Yeah. Oh, and she's blonde now.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is in reference to Resident Evil 5.
All right. And that is it. That is the end of Resident Evil Afterlife. Now, the way that this movie ends is definitely, I mean, they knew they were making another one. So they had to leave this open-ended. There was no really solid conclusion to this. So yay for 2 more of these.
I just keep getting further confused the more I watch these. I have more questions. I have more complaints. I have more unanswered questions that I know will never be answered. And so they're no longer questions, just kind of statements. Vague statements that will never get me anywhere, and I just can't.
Oh boy. So the scene with Jill at the end of the movie was actually the first scene shot for the movie.
Well.
Yeah. During the filming of the movie, Mila accidentally shot out $100,000 camera.
How do you shoot out
I mean,
$100,000 camera.
must have shot it with a blank or something.
But like, uh, yeah. Okay.
Oh Lord.
I feel like that's something that they probably could have avoided had they actually tried. But you know,
Let's see.
I feel like I could have gone my entire life with never watching these movies as I have up until this point, and I probably would have understood the movies better.
Yeah. It's just bonkers. Like I've said bonkers a lot in this show today because it is. If you've
Yeah.
watched this through, like it's not just watching this one. If you have watched the Resident Evil films from the beginning, from Resident Evil 1 to now,
Wonderful. They do not connect.
they're just insane. They just get crazier and crazier. And I mean, this is not the only franchise that has done this.
No.
All right.
No, it's
so
absolutely
we
not.
can't. As much as we are bashing these movies, listen. As much as we're saying negative things about these films, this is definitely not these aren't definitely the worst movies I've ever seen. But they're just bad for being having the name Resident Evil attached to them.
Yes. These aren't the most unwatchable movies.
No.
They really aren't. Like, as much as I dislike them because I'm a game fan. It's not the movie fan. But they aren't unwatchable. They aren't particularly bad. The only reason I hurt from them is because of the fact that, like, I have such a focus on the lore from the games.
Yeah.
And it's like you could have just asked, like, anybody who had played those games to give you a TLDR and you would have had a better matching movie. And it's just a thing. This whole thing is just a thing.
So in this movie, we finally got to see Claire wear her game attire. She wears a red vest, which is her primary outfit in her game appearances. So I guess it's good that they finally put her in her game outfit, which makes more sense than when they put Jill in her outfit in Apocalypse, where you're like, what? This makes no sense. Why would you wear this? I understand it was in the game, but it didn't make sense in the game either.
Yes, it really didn't. She should have at least been wearing shorts. Still, pants would have been better.
Yeah, but you gotta. It's just another thing of movies making their main female characters very sexualized.
Yeah,
and it's still a problem today, but with everything that's going on, it's not as they don't make it as prominent unless it makes sense to the plot of the movie.
It's getting a lot better on both fronts, on both video games and movies.
Yeah.
Compared to like what I remember as a kid, it is growing. It is moving past having to have them hypersexualized, but they still like pretty well have just one body type. There are several games and movies that don't conform to that. But overall, there is a body type for both of these genres, and they are both the same.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I agree. I mean, look at Lara Croft in the original games. I mean, look at what she wore. I mean, even though she was in a game series that were on PS1 that were it was kind of like use your imagination about how she looks. But she wore a tank top and booty shorts. It made no sense when they redid her, and she was very busty because that's what you need to do. That's how you're going to get guys, people to play your game. Is you just make but then they redid the Tomb Raider series to what we know now, like the Tomb Raider from 2014, I believe is when it came out, where it makes more sense. She's wearing an outfit you would wear if you're in the jungle or if you're exploring something.
She's wearing
yeah, exactly. So
pants are me a lot because
it's okay to change. It's okay if the video game I mean, it's cool that you threw back to what Jill looked like in 2 or 3, sorry, but you didn't need that in the movie. We didn't need it. We got enough from Alice in these movies where she's either wearing nothing or she's wearing something skin tight.
The outfit that Claire had was very good. It was very practical. It made a lot of sense for her because, okay, the world's a desert. It's hot. You need something with a tank top. She wore the red vest. She had pants on. Like, she had boots on. It wasn't like her weird red bodysuit that had, like, skin tight short shorts with the weird, snake, I think was the decal on the back. It was a giant snake.
Was it Resident Evil 3, the remastered game that came out last year?
Mm-hmm.
They changed her outfit completely, right, Jill's? Yeah. She wore the red, like, it was like a bomber jacket or a leather, like red leather jacket.
She's got like the red leather jacket, a white t-shirt, and like moderately skinny jeans on. And you can change it back to the original one, but the original one was like that weird bodysuit. And I was like, that is impractical for a zombie apocalypse.
100%.
In order to go to the bathroom with that thing on, you got to take the whole thing off. Like,
so the final trivia I'm going to state in the show is in the movie, the BOWs, or the bioorganic weapon that wields a heavy axe, is called the Axeman in the movie. Never hear it, but he's got an axe. Yeah. But in Resident Evil 5, they were called executioners, which actually sounds cooler. I don't know why you wouldn't just keep it that in this, because he looks like one. He had the bag over his head, and he was holding pretty much an executioner's axe. So why would you? Oh my god, whatever. All right, well that's it for trivia for the plot. So now we're gonna get to the rankings, which I am very surprised we're only at the 2-hour mark of the show. I figured, I was like, damn, after our almost hour-long rants about everything not even related to the movie, we're finally
short, and it just doesn't happen. Because
listen, nothing is going to beat the Godzilla King of the Monsters podcast that I had with DNA and Umbreon, because when you have more than one, expert of that field, it goes on for a long, long time, and I had a lot of fun in that show. But 3 hours, woo! Try not to do that again. All right, so we're gonna go through our rankings. Our first ranking is the antagonists of the film, which is the bad guys. For anybody who doesn't know what that means, right now the standings are: number 1, Isaacs from Resident Evil Extinction; number 2, Spence in Red Queen from Resident Evil; and number 3 is Kane and Isaacs from Resident Evil Apocalypse. Where does Wesker go on the list of antagonists?
Say Wesker would replace number 3.
Okay.
I'd put Wesker way down there. Wesker and what's his face?
I'm just going to put Wesker because I'm not counting that guy as a villain. He sucked. He just sucked in every facet. He just was bad. All right. So that was easy. I'm going to have to put, I got to put Afterlife, because I know that Wesker returns. Listen, even if you don't see the other movies, you know that Wesker comes back. So I got to make sure I put that out there.
A lot of the games, Wesker's and pretty well all of them.
Yeah. All right, so our new rankings for antagonists of the Resident Evil franchise is: number 1, Isaacs from Resident Evil Extinction; 2, Spence in Red Queen from Resident Evil; Wesker in Resident Evil Afterlife; and number 4, Kane and Isaacs from Resident Evil Apocalypse. And our next ranking is the Alices. We rank Alice in every single movie because, like we've said in every episode of Resident Evil dissection of Resident Evil, she's different. Well, I mean, she's the same person, but she's different in every movie. She does different stuff.
She's a different person in almost every movie.
Pretty much.
Like, I'm surprised they didn't go with like her being a different clone every time.
Yeah.
But
she grows, and I feel like she matures more in every film. She's getting smarter. She's more intimidating.
Yeah.
She doesn't she's just not giving a shit anymore.
Yep.
So
I would
it's good.
like, and she's having some I guess, character growth that isn't in the greatest direction as well. But due to the circumstances, it's super understandable. So, like with Crystal being just absolutely murdered, and then she just turns around and she's like,
Yeah, she's like, guns.
Yeah.
I
Yay,
love guns.
Like, that's understandable. She's now watched so many people die, so many people leave, so many people just never come back that you're desensitized to it. It would make sense that she would just be like, oh, that's sad. Guns.
Yeah.
Guns are my friends.
Oh. So right now, our Alice rankings are 1, Alice from Apocalypse, 2, Alice from Extinction, and 3, Alice from Resident Evil 1. Where are we putting Alice from Afterlife?
This is a tough one because as a person, this Alice is probably my favorite. She is both severely aloof, but also she understands and wants to help, but she's not going to put herself out for it. Like, at this point, she's no longer like, I'm going to help you survive. It's, yeah, if I can, maybe.
Yeah.
But on the same tone, she's supposed to be a human, and she's doing just absolutely inhuman things. So, if we ignored that, I would place her as my favorite Alice, personality-wise. Like, I would rank her up at top 1, and her fighting is very good in this movie. Her action sequences are very good, albeit long. And, like, overall, I liked her a lot in this movie, and she's probably the only reason I was able to watch it.
All right, well, we got our answer for that then. So our new Alice rankings are Alice from Afterlife at number 1, number 2, Alice from Apocalypse, number 3, Alice from Extinction, and 4, Alice from Resident Evil. Our final ranking for every show is the ranking of the Resident Evil film itself compared to all the others. Currently, our list goes number 1, Resident Evil Apocalypse, number 2, Resident Evil, and number 3, Resident Evil Extinction. Where does Resident Evil Afterlife rank amongst the others?
Didn't know it could get worse. I didn't know that you could take 3 movies in an entire series, and absolutely not connect them to the 4th. Like, you have to actively try to not connect yourself to this series in order for these movies to not connect the way that this did. And for that, I both applaud them and hate them. This is probably my most disliked movie because I had so many more questions than I did in 3. So many more. And none of them connected to anything. The world's supposed to be a desert, but also Alaska's perfectly fine. They don't explain anything about Tokyo in the beginning, other than Tokyo had an outbreak too, which is fine and dandy, but if you don't give us a time frame, what the fuck are we supposed to do with that info? Why? Like, why are we not supposed to assume that that is right now?
Right.
So I would place it as my least favorite. Yeah, I would place it as my least favorite because it gave me an existential amount of dread watching it.
Yeah, I mean, there are aspects of this movie, and I stated that this is definitely not my least favorite Resident Evil movie so far. I think like the action set pieces and Alice and some of the side characters I liked more. I like Claire. Chris is kind of hit or miss. I liked Wesker more in this, even though he's batshit crazy. Like Wesker in this, and then Wesker, of course, in Extinction. I mean, Wesker in Extinction was kind of he was a hologram. You never really saw him. So it definitely wasn't my, I definitely think Extinction for me is my least favorite, my least favorite because it just, I don't know, it just kind of sucked. If it being set in the desert, them doing like a fucking ripoff of Mad Max in a really shitty way, and you didn't get much like zombies. It was more of the damn crows. Like we got that crow scene, which was just weird as fuck. Bad side characters, which most of them died. Like, I'm sorry people liked LJ. I'm glad that he didn't return. His girlfriend there, who was pointless. Like, I liked the characters more in this, except for Bennett. I thought he sucked big time.
Yeah. Like if I'm looking at, I guess, all the aspects of it, this one is like character-wise and, like you said, also action scene-wise, this one was better than the last one, because the last one was just a bunch of zip-zopping around. And this one actually, for the most part, not constantly, but for the most part, you could understand the action scenes a lot better when they were doing their slow motion and their nonsense. And yeah, characters overall are also just a little bit better. It's like, if this was where we had 3, this is about where 4 is for me.
Yeah, it's not like vastly superior to 3. They're all pretty close to being like on the same level. I just think Extinction just didn't give me enough, and there was just so many things. Like, I hated Isaac's and like his final, like him turning into the tyrant, and Alice being able to get shut off like she's a damn robot, and then they don't like. They made her more mortal in this movie. They took that superpower thing away from her, but yet she was still able to do like things that were very questionable for somebody who's immortal. But yeah, I would definitely have Extinction still be last. I just think Extinction just was boring. Just
if somebody turned on 2 TVs in their house and they had Extinction playing on one, and this one playing on another one, I would watch this one. If I had to. Like, I would watch this one a second time.
Yeah.
I hope I never see Extinction again.
So would you still, like, in this ranking, would you still put Afterlife last?
No, I'd put it second to last.
Okay. That makes me feel better, because I really didn't want to put Afterlife after Extinction, because Extinction is probably going to be the worst. And I know there's 2 other ones that are probably even more bonkers than this one, but for me, I don't, is like I said before, I can talk a lot of shit about this movie and prior movies, but I didn't, like, I was watching yesterday. For one, like I've said it before, and I'll say it again, these movies aren't long. They're like an hour and a half. Every single one is like an hour and a half long, which is great, because they're not overdoing it. There's a lot of action, and to be honest, I like Alice, so I like seeing what she's going to do next. And, you know, with Claire there, I think Claire in this movie is better than she was in Extinction. And, you know, Wesker was of a more compelling villain, even though we voted him, you know, below Isaac's, which I don't know, whatever.
Like, I liked Isaac's composition.
Yeah,
I should, like, as an entire rounded character, not just him and his acting, but like where he came from, why he was doing the things he was doing. I like his composition as a character. Wesker is like, I need to see where he's going in order for me to like him more. Because there was actually so little of him in this movie.
Yeah.
That it's almost hard to be like, yes, he is a good villain. His actor was pretty good. His character looked pretty good. And he acted the action scene pretty good for what it was, because recreating something from the games is hard. But there was not enough development or intro to him, for that matter, because like he just kind of showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one of those. Maybe in the next movie I will like him a lot more, just because he's going to be more of a focus in the next movie. Like he should be, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he'll show up in the last 5 minutes again and fly away.
Yeah. Who knows? This is going to be an interesting final 2 weeks of this crazy adventure we've been on. So after that, our final rankings for at least for this week is number 1, Resident Evil Apocalypse. Number 2, Resident Evil. Number 3, Resident Evil Afterlife. And number 4, Resident Evil Extinction. Next week, we'll be back here again. Same time, same place to talk about the 5th film of this ridiculous franchise. I can't even talk anymore. We're going to be talking about Resident Evil Retribution. Boy, oh boy. This movie came out almost 10 years. Actually, I think 10 years after the first one. This is one of the longest, like, consistent, well, I say consistent with air quotes, franchises that I think I've ever watched. It's crazy. So yeah, we will be talking about Resident Evil Retribution next week, live here on this channel. If you did not realize, I changed my name. I no longer go by the Parker XP anymore. So if you're confused why you had a live notifications with a completely different name, yeah, I changed it. So it is now twitch.tv/mindofparker. Also, if you want to follow me now on Twitter, it is now at mindofparker. And make sure you go follow Piggy as well at PiggyWhisperRiine. Not just on Twitter, but on Twitch. She streams horror games all the time. So if you want to go watch some of that, make sure you go over there and drop her a follow. Also, if you want to follow the Parker Chronicles podcast on Twitter, we are at Dissect That Film on Twitter. I'm going to be posting, like, you know, when the podcast goes live on podcast services, anything movie related for franchises we might talk about in the future. It's not just going to be about the podcast. It's going to be more like an entertainment news page as well. So make sure to go follow that. And also remember, this show goes live at 7 a.m. Eastern time every Monday. Well, as long as we do the show on Sunday, it'll go live at 7 a.m. Eastern every Monday. So make sure to follow the Parker Chronicles on whatever podcast service you listen to your podcast on. So I appreciate everybody who watches us live, and I appreciate everybody who listens to us on your headphones at your works or whatever you're doing in life. I appreciate you. And make sure if you have any questions or notes or anything you want to tell me, like, hey, why, you know, or if there's any corrections if I said anything wrong during the show, because guess what? People make mistakes. Sometimes information, I literally take trivia and stuff off of IMDb or Wikipedia. So if there's something that I didn't state that's an important fact to a movie, make sure to let me know so I can correct myself on the next show. Because listen, I'm not perfect, and I know I'm going to be making mistakes, and there's a lot of things that is still in the works for this show. So just sit tight. All right. We're only 14 episodes into this thing. We got a long way to go, but I appreciate you all for being here. We'll see you next week. Piggy, thanks for being here again.
Anytime.
And I hope you all have a wonderful night.